Oh my gosh, you found another episode of How the Heck Have You Been, where I call up somebody I haven't talked to in about 20 years and ask them what they're up to. I mean, it's kind of implicit in the name. You know? Let's get to it. All right, my guest today is Spain Fischer. She is a professional artist, jealous, living in Denver, Colorado, jealous, and it was fun catching up with what she's been doing over the last 18 years. Here's our conversation. Hello? Is that Spain Fischer?
Is that Pax?
Oh, sorry, I'm just reading this this amazing graphic novel, Caterwall, Volume 1.
Very good.
What's it going? Nice headset, too, by the way.
Oh, thanks. It's my Sea of Thieves headset.
Good to see you. How the heck
You
have
too.
you been?
Great. It's been a long 20 years. Not quite 20 years for us. I think
18.
the last time I saw you, 18,
Oh,
yeah.
for us, yeah, since graduation, but...
Yeah, are you still working at Olive Garden?
Did you ever come in and, like...
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
I serve you
We
at
came
Olive
in.
Garden?
Yep, once. Yeah.
Oh, man. Who were you with? Was it like you and Katie Stout or Paris?
I think so. It was that group of people.
That's funny. I'm sure I was terrible. That was probably the job I was least suited to do well, was remember
Really?
people's food and bring it out in a timely fashion.
Oh, I never even tried. That would be terrible for me.
I think
I-
everybody should work in food service just once in their life because people are at their worst when they're hungry, and so
That's true.
you get a nice dose of what the real world what the real world is like.
I never did.
I had nightmares about forgetting tables, and like they've been there for 4 hours, and I still never didn't bring their fried calamari.
Oh man. I worked retail, but never food service.
Yeah, I
So
think retail and food service, those are the two biggies you should always get under your
yeah,
belt.
I think it's important. I worked at a Circuit City, if that shows our age at all.
Yeah. Oh, what? A
Uh,
Radio Shack? Question mark.
there's still a Radio Shack here. It's down the street from me. It has
Nice.
to be independent, right? They're
I
not
think
a
I
thing.
think there actually is still one in the Northeast Mall too, or it
Okay.
came back or something. But
How's that mall doing?
it's kicking. It's still
Really?
good.
Because it was kind of dying last time I went.
No, I mean it's kind of picked back up a little bit. They've got a Dick's Sporting Goods that came in. The
Fun.
movie theater still brings a bunch of people in.
Yeah.
Or
Well, we've
it
seen
did
a lot
before
of movies
COVID.
there.
Heck
We had
yeah.
to sit through Peter Jackson's King Kong in that movie
Mhm.
theater.
Nice.
I remember we when we were watching it, we all kind of stopped midway and we kind of looked at each other. We're like, should we leave? This is boring. But I think we stuck it out. I
You
think
know,
we
I have
did.
never. Have you ever walked out of a movie? I never have.
No,
I've always
no,
enjoyed
I've
the
never
experience
actually.
enough to just let it carry me through the
Yeah.
terribleness.
Yep.
Nice.
Has there been a movie for you that's been close?
Oh, if I had seen AI in theater, I may have walked out, but I saw that at home. I think we stopped it at home, or maybe I
Mm.
finished it even though my mom didn't want to watch it. So, like, I know people. That's the only time I've ever seen people walk out.
Oh, that was a bad movie.
Yeah.
I blocked it from my memory. Um,
All right.
I listened a little bit to the 2005 Willy Wonka soundtrack to get ready for
Oh
this. So
yes, I was a little obsessed with that, just a bit.
we were all a little obsessed, yeah.
2005. Okay, so that would have been our first year. So, okay, where did you go to college? Because I've completely forgotten.
I went to University of Central Florida in Orlando.
Wow, why? Oh, for animation, maybe?
Yeah, yeah. Well, my parents I got into UNT and I was actually considering UNT pretty seriously, but my
Caca.
parents really wanted, yeah, right. They really wanted me in Florida, because they wanted to move back to Florida. So I ended up picking UCF, and because of the animation program. And it was the year I got there is when they shut the animation down
Oh,
in Walt Disney World. So yeah, the timing was kind of off on that.
yeah. So, what was that, like a partnership with Disney that they were doing,
Uh,
and they shut that
they
down?
Yeah, they worked with I actually had a mentor for a little while named Lon Smart. He's a an animator for Disney, or he was, and then once they took away the animation department, he switched over to theme park design. He's basically an Imagineer now. So I worked under him for a little bit, but
Nice.
ultimately, yeah, the partnership between the school and Walt Disney World kind of just fizzled because there was no more animation.
Yeah.
So,
Now, what I mean, so my favorite classically animated Disney feature would be Princess and the Frog,
That's a good one.
which I
He
think,
did work on that.
yeah,
Yeah,
and what's that? He worked on that.
he worked on that.
So
Yeah.
that was before. I don't remember what year that came out. Would that have been before he went to college?
Uh, I believe it came out in 2008 or 2009.
Okay, so it was later, but I think
Yeah, it
they
was a little
must have like
later.
reopened it because they weren't doing any.
Yeah, that was actually mostly all contract and gig work.
Oh wow.
So it wasn't really there was a chunk of it done over in California, but mostly it was just contracted out to old animators. And that's how Lon worked on it. He actually had a motorcycle with a little Naveen frog plush on it because that's what
Yes.
paid for his motorcycle.
We took a road trip. I think it was up to Ohio. I've got some family up there, but we watched that movie. Both the Airbnbs we stayed in, had Netflix or had Disney Plus, and we had our login, and so we just watched that ad nauseum. And so
It's
seeing
a
that
good
movie just
movie.
reminds me of that trip, and it's got good memories. It's so good,
Good.
and the
I mean, the
music.
second it opens with Dr. John, you know it's going to be a good
Yep,
movie.
yep. All right, so let's go back a little bit to our high school experience.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, I feel like we kind of played the same role for our little nuclear friend groups. I feel like we
Hmm.
were kind of the wonky, wild card, wacky characters in the background. So we weren't ever in the same exact group, but our groups like shared an orbit. So
Yeah.
who are you like really good friends with? Because I was trying to remember. Was it Katie Stout?
Yeah,
Katie?
I was good friends with Katie Stout. I was friends with Katie Stout since junior high. We went to Bedford together. Um, and then it kind of depends on the year.
Yeah, that's true.
Sophomore, I was really in with the flute
The
girls.
Flute Gang.
Yeah, Katie Paris and Laura Stolze
Oh,
and
Stolgi.
a
Yeah.
couple other people. And then as high school went on and we moved in groups and changed. I who was what was senior year like? I think I hung out with you a lot senior
Yeah.
year, as well as who
I was
I'm
chilling
blanking on her name.
with Toby and Susanna.
Yep, yep.
And then David Louthan. I spent a lot of time with David Louthan senior year.
Hmm.
And then who were you thinking of? I'm trying to
Um, Jody,
Wiseman?
yes, Wiseman,
Yeah, and
Rosser
so
now, right?
I invited Jody, if you can hear this, Jody and Garrett Rosser, who are now married. You need to come on as a couples edition for the podcast because I knew Jody from elementary school. Even we went
Oh,
to
Jody
this.
was
I
always
think
so
since
sweet.
kindergarten I've known her, and she's awesome. And of course,
Yeah,
Garrett Butch Rosser is Garrett.
I think it was back when I don't know if they were ever dating, but it was Jody and Kenneth.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Kenneth Talley.
yeah, not Tally. What was it, Tally? It wasn't.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I am thinking of
He
somebody
was a
else. Yeah,
saxophone player.
yeah.
And we would go. There was like this little anime store that we would use as our kind of hangout for our senior off-campus lunch. And Kenneth or someone would play DDR like the entire time, and we
Nice.
would just look at anime. So
I remember hearing about that. In fact, I think I remember going a couple times.
yeah,
Dance
it's
Revolution. Do they make those still? I think they do. I've
probably
seen a
yeah.
couple in some arcades.
Yep. Yeah, senior off-campus lunch. That was always a fun ride,
Yeah, you went
especially
with the.
when.
Okay, so that's one of my fondest memories of you, and
Yep.
you know what I'm about. You know the story.
Yep.
But we had Wendy's Wednesdays. What was the other one we always did? Taco Bueno maybe Thursdays or something.
Taco Bueno is where we had been in this sordid tale that you're about to tell.
You're gonna have to fill in some of the details. Okay, so we were required to have our student IDs with us upon re-entering the building, so that they knew
Hmm.
we were seniors. Um, and we were walking back across the field and got to the building. And did we have a nickname for our parking lot guy?
I think we just called him by his name, but now
Um,
I'm blanking on it.
because I taught at Grapevine High School, and they called him Jumanji because the guy there had like the kind of the safari hat, with the brim
Oh
all the
yeah,
way around.
yeah.
So that was his nickname. But I guess we didn't have a nickname for it, but I feel like they're the same. Didn't he have like a mustache? Didn't our
Yeah,
guy
he
have
was
like a
kind of an older
mustache? He
guy.
could have also
He
been
was
Jumanji.
he was a
Uh,
nice dude.
he was a good guy. So
Yeah, he was a
it
very
was
good guy.
like you, me, Claire, maybe Toby. I don't know who all was there, but
Hmm.
no, maybe Brandy
Oh, Brandy
Casper.
Casper,
Yeah,
man. I tried to find her just to say hi. I miss that girl. I don't know
she
what she's
disappeared
up
a little
to.
bit. I ran into her at Central Market or Market Street a long time ago, like
Oh,
kind of during
yeah.
college years still.
Hmm.
and we said hi. But yeah, I need to reach out to her to get her on the show
Yeah,
too.
Brandy, if you're out there, miss you, girl.
Come on, Brandy, come back to us. Come back.
Brandy Casper, come back.
It's been 18 years. Okay, so we're walking back. You don't have your ID on you. Uh, Go
I
ahead. Go ahead.
did. So this was when I thought duct tape was the coolest thing ever.
Mm.
And I will say this was a couple years
Yeah.
before it got super cool. So I had a backpack made out of duct tape,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the worst backpack, but it was cool. So I kept it. And it only had one big pocket. There was no tiny pockets. It's duct tape. And I just had so much crap in my backpack. I am the most unorganized person. Still, I'm not very organized. And my ID was in there. I just could not find it in time, and I panicked. So
you,
I
you,
would love to hear it from your perspective.
so all I remember is being flabbergasted at. He just walks up to us, asks us for the ID. I guess you maybe search around in your backpack for a second,
Mhm.
and then bolt, and you
I
take
just
off
book
running
it.
away from him. And he looks at us, and we look at him. We're like, and I think one of us was on the floor laughing, like because it was so funny that you did.
You're missing a key part in which it was a pep rally day, and the theme was
Oh,
Hawaiian. So
oh,
I'm
yeah,
decked out in a Hawaiian shirt, a big Hawaiian grass hat with all the fringe,
yes,
and a Hawaiian grass skirt that is just blowing in the wind as I run
that's
as
right.
fast as I can.
Oh, I had
I
forgotten.
run.
I had remembered the hat. I remembered you leaving the hat, or maybe you threw it at him, or it just fell off, and you ran without it, or something.
I might
And
have thrown it at you, yeah.
we were like, "What just happened?"
It
She's a
was an
senior. She's not.
identifiable hat. I had to get rid of it.
It was like a lizard getting rid of its tail as a
Yeah.
defense mechanism and just running
Well,
away.
once I got into, because I ran into the band hall entrance that didn't quite go into the band hall, but
Yeah,
like I hooked a right into the
yeah.
hallway towards the cafeteria. I jumped into a stairwell and I shed all the Hawaiian stuff I had because no one would be able to find me at that point
That's
if they
right.
couldn't recognize me. But somebody ratted me out.
It would
Who
not have been
was?
me. Impossible. I'm
You told
sure
me it was me.
it had to have been Toby. It had to have
Oh,
been Toby. You
that's
know that. You know he would have done it.
I don't know.
I don't
I
even know if
think
he
I
was there.
remember it being you.
It probably was me, actually. I was such a
I
rule
got
follower.
I got a Wednesday for that. I got a Wednesday detention, and it was my only detention ever.
Ever.
My single detention all throughout
Uh,
grade school.
I mean, they would have grilled us, right? I mean, I was
No, I
just
know.
I was just doing the inevitable.
You
I'm
guys
so.
could have run too. He couldn't have caught you.
If we all run,
Uh,
they, they can't catch us.
oh my
Oh, that
God.
was hilarious.
Yeah, that was that was fun. That was a good memory.
We were all so dumbstruck because there was no reason for you to run. It was like
I know, like
she's allowed to be doing this. She just couldn't find her ID fast enough.
when they called me into the office because my friends ratted me out. they, they were like, you could have just followed him to the office
And they
and
would
we
have.
would have verified. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
But I was what, 16? I was an idiot. What did
weren't we
I know?
all? That's looking back, and I'm sure it's the same today. But looking back at high school, I feel like I had no free will. It was just like I was who I was, and things were just happening to me, and I was lucky that I didn't, go off on some terrible path or get mixed up with some stupid thing or have a worse experience. Because it's like I don't know. I'm kind of a determinist sometimes. With not to get too deeply philosophical, but it's like, man, how much did we really have control over what was happening in high school? We just
I
don't.
feel the same way. I feel like, at that age, especially, you don't have full control over not only your emotions, but just how you perceive things.
Yeah.
And it's kind of bizarre looking back at being that age, since I feel the same way. I feel like I was just going through and I had no control over anything around me or even how I myself acted. It's kind of a weird drug haze almost
Yeah.
when I look back on it.
It's scarier
Um,
looking back on it because at the time we were just living our lives, but looking back,
mhm.
like, oh man, that could have been real bad. we could have made some much worse decisions.
Yeah,
I
I
was
was a
so
goody two
young.
shoes in high school. I was a pretty walk the line.
Well,
I
you
didn't
remember I
drink or
wouldn't even
anything.
cuss on the field, right?
Oh
As a
yeah,
freshman, or sorry, as a sophomore. I keep forgetting we only had a 3-year high school. As a
yeah.
sophomore, I came in and I may have talked about this with Davis, but we would walk with the tubas, the Tusophones flipped to our back, right? And we called it
Hmm.
badassing it.
Hmm.
And I was like, all right, guys, it's time to bad apple it. All right, I'm not cussing because that's bad. And all the other kids like, Mark, just say ass. Come on, man. It's not even. It's like the least bad cuss word there is. Come on, just
Yeah,
say it. It's like
it's a
no.
body part we all have. Just say it, dude. Oh,
And
yeah, I have a filthy mouth now.
oh yeah, 100%.
I'll try
Well,
to
and as a
control
teacher, it's
myself.
funny because I'm a teacher. I'm only doing part time now, but the kids are like, Mr. Dye, blah blah blah. Like, I guys, trust me, I cuss. It's about code switching. It's about this is a space that's meant to be more sacred, and you
Hmm.
should hear me when I get with my friends playing poker because it's a whole different ballgame.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I don't think you were here for this. When we went to Donna Park Elementary for the milk chugging contest, were you there for
Mm,
that?
no, I went
Okay.
to Shady Brook, and then my parents moved
Well, this was
over to
high school, but we did it
oh, high school.
at the playground of Donna Park Elementary
Oh no,
with
I
like Christian Tobler and okay. So I thought you
no,
might have been
I'd
there.
be
I didn't
dead.
think you
I'm
were.
lactose intolerant. Although that didn't
Ah,
show up until my 20s, so that'd been fine.
nice.
Yeah.
All right, so you went to Florida to do
Hmm.
animation. Were you able to get into some sort of animation or art program
Yeah, the
regardless?
animation program still existed. It just kind of had gotten gutted. Um, they had stopped offering 2D animation, which was what I was interested in, and started only offering 3D. So I went through that. I learned Maya and 3D Max and all the programs back then, but I never really liked it. I never really enjoyed 3D. So I ended up focusing more on the developmental side of animation. So storyboards, character design, that kind of thing. And yeah, I right out of college, I just actually started doing commission work because that
Mm-hmm.
was, let's see, that was around 2008, right? That's when
Yep.
we graduated. So they had just fired all the animators, um, and they were rehiring them for, gig work, like I was talking about before. And it was just hard to get my foot in the door. So I found that I could actually just make a living doing uh, commissions for website design, illustration, that sort of thing. And that's kind of what I've been doing this entire time.
Nice.
Been doing it ever since. I did work on one show. It was actually live action, but it had 2D elements in it.
Oh, cool.
And it never got picked up fully. We did get to make a pilot, which was probably the most fun I've ever had.
Nice.
I got to go out to LA where they were filming it, and I got to be on set for several days. And it was all bankrolled by Keenan Thompson
Oh,
from
nice.
Keenan and Kel,
Yeah, yeah.
Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
So he was there, and he's the nicest dude ever. And
He
there's
seems like
nothing
it.
more yeah, there's nothing more bizarre than turning a corner one morning in the studio and Keenan and someone else is walking down the hall and he's like, Spade, meet my friend. And his friend was some other dude from All That. I'm like, oh,
Nice.
hey.
Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. But
So
that ultimately did
what was
not
the
get
2D
picked up.
stuff going to be? Was it going to be like a dream sequence or like
It was
layered
a
over the top?
it was a sci-fi fantasy show, so the character had kind of magical powers that they wanted to do in 2D spaces,
Like
and they
Starlight,
also,
yeah.
yeah, they also wanted because it took place in space on a bunch of different planets, so those planets needed designs and concept art. So that's what I did on that.
Now, for those who don't know you, all throughout high school, you would draw little figures for us, and they were really like you had already defined your style. And I don't know, like how did you come up with that yourself, or is that a common like? Did you get strategies because you would draw little band figures or
Mhm.
the same really style you're doing now with Caterwall and stuff like that. And it was really cool, and I was always kind of jealous of because I'm doing kind of getting into art, but I never studied it professionally or anything. And the way I'm always jealous of people who can draw figures and rotate it 3 dimensionally in their head and like here's how the figure would look facing this way. I'm like I
Mhm.
just have to look at a picture and trace it.
That's not. I
So
mean,
how did you learn that
references.
even in high school?
Uh, I think it's a lot to do with my parents were really supportive about me being interested in art. Uh, they enrolled me in some private classes Private being like there was 3 or 4 of us since I was probably 7 or 8,
Oh,
and I
wow,
was in
nice.
those uh, up until junior high, and then I kind of aged out of it, and then I was in the art program at Bell, which wasn't amazing, but it was something, and I think it was really just that basis of
Yeah,
my parents just getting me in those classes, and I learned so much. It's a little tiny school called Creative Art School, and I think that was in Bedford somewhere. So,
that's really great that they recognized it that early and nurtured it in you. That's great.
yeah, I had an easel when I was like 3 years old that
There
it
you
was my
go.
favorite thing ever, and I would just finger paint all the time, and I loved it. So they were fairly encouraging,
Cool. Okay,
almost
so
to a
you,
fault, because art does not make money,
right? Yeah, yeah, same with the English major. When I told my mom, I was like, I think
right?
I want to teach English. She was like, well, Mark, come on, bro, come on. Because she was a paralegal for lawyers, so she was like,
Hmm.
you can do other things, make a lot of more money. All right,
Yep.
so you work on the movie a little bit, doesn't get picked up, but then so how do you move on from there? What happened after that?
Oh, I just went back into commission work. I really honestly love it. I debated for a few years if I wanted to move out to LA and do the storyboard circuit and try to make that a career. But ultimately, I like working for smaller projects and individuals because they give me much more creative control over what I'm drawing, what
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing. And I also don't have to live in LA. Now, I love LA. I love visiting. I don't want to move there.
Yeah.
It's expensive and crowded, and I like Denver. I love it here.
Oh, Colorado, yeah. So I
Yeah.
just had some family visiting from Colorado Springs. We went a couple years ago. I love that. That's like the fantasy of where I would want to live if we had to live anywhere else. Um, I've got like two sisters that live here, both my parents, so like we have pretty established roots. But even my brother in
Mhm.
law is like, every time it gets above 95 in Texas, like, we could live in
Yeah.
Colorado. It's like, man, we could too if we all just picked up and moved. But
Yeah, I love it here. I lived in, well, let's see, after high school, I left for college 3 days after graduation.
wow,
UCF required everyone to take a certain amount of summer classes. So I just decided to kind of get out of Dodge immediately. I felt like I was done, in the DFW
yeah,
area. I was itching to get out. So I left, and then I started college, and I lived in Orlando until 2014 when I moved here.
oh wow, yeah, that's a while. That's a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, I was there for a long time.
So
I
what
don't
brought you to
miss it.
Denver then?
Well, when Caterwall, my graphic novel, got picked up, I ended up going to a comic convention where my publisher was throwing a soiree, and I met my partner Emily there, and we kind of just hit it off. And she lived here in Denver, and I did not care for Florida, so eventually I just moved.
From what I hear, yeah. Well, it's funny because you talk about LA and you talk about Florida. Those are sometimes they get the worst reputation for
Yes, very, very
the
opposite.
yeah.
And yet, so man, I almost wish I had gone straight to LA after college. My college roommate and best friend Jeanette did, and she was like, "Come out to LA, come out to LA." And I was a chicken. I was such a chicken back then. Everything was kind of too scary for me
Yep.
to really do. Um, but yeah, I liked Florida. I mean, my parents moved there shortly after I started going to college, which kind of unmoored me a lot from my childhood, where I'd grown up in Texas, and
Mm-hmm.
suddenly I didn't have any family in that area.
Yeah, there's no
Just
reason really to come
just
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
just 2 years after high school, I no longer had any reason to go back there. So
Yeah,
I
that's weird.
I've always kind of felt very like it was another lifetime for
Mm-hmm.
me. Um, but
So
I like
They were from Florida originally, I take it, because you said they moved
my dad
back.
was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my dad was from Florida. We had lived there before we moved. We moved to Texas in like 91. So Texas was my home. That's
Mm-hmm.
where I grew up. But when we went back to Florida, well, I went to college, my parents moved back, and I never really came home again, which is kind of a weird feeling. Even now, all my dreams, like as far as reoccurring dreams, are still in my house in Texas.
Yeah. Over Terra
Um,
Plantation, right?
yep, Yep.
I think
Uh,
we had our prom party at your house, the after party.
yeah, you almost set my kitchen on fire.
No, that can't be right. Did I? What happened? I don't
Yeah,
remember this at
you
all.
you were making pizza bagels or something, and I think we all just forgot about them. And I was upstairs, and I just hear you with your panic voice downstairs. You're like,
Oh.
Spain! Like run downstairs. There's smoke
Is there
everywhere.
a fan on somewhere? Can we turn a
And
vent?
yeah, I remember my mom or my dad ran out because they were just chilling in their room. They didn't want to deal with us
Yeah,
teenagers.
yeah.
And you were so scared, and they were like, "It's fine,
It's okay, Mark. It's just
it's
some
fine,
charred pizza bagels, just a little smoke.
it's fine."
I think
Uh,
we spent the night because I remember I had to go to work the next morning at that stupid
oh, that
call
sucks.
center that I used to work at. Uh, yeah, it was like I had to be there at I think 7 or 8. So I just remember like rolling out of bed, walk of shame, as if that it was not that crazy of a party. We just crashed,
No, yeah, we didn't really do
drove to
crazy. I
work.
mean, God, I think there was a lot of people there, but it was all kind of the just nerdy band kids.
Yep.
I mean, my parents had a liquor cabinet, like a wet bar, and they never even locked it, and we never touched it. We were such good
So
kids.
I'm talking to Katie for the next episode, Katie Paris, and I remember her parents. I don't know if it was 8th or 9th grade. I'll have to talk to her about this, or 9th or 10th grade. But she was like, you can either go to the band dance with Mark Dye or with I think it was Scene Harrell. Like I was one of the only two who was like, oh, that's so great that. And then like looking back, I'm like, oh no, that means I was so innocent and naive and unthreatening that she had no worries about me ever trying anything with her daughter. It's funny. So I feel like that was all of us. And they're like,
Yep.
should we lock up the liquor? Nah, they're not going to even try. And we didn't.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever went with anyone to the band dances, the band banquets. And I think the last year I went in a Harry Potter costume.
That sounds right. That does sound
Yeah.
right. I went to whatever the dance was with Katie. In fact, I think I did this twice. I went in all plaid. Like I went to
I remember
Goodwill
that.
and found all plaid, which is like, come on, man. Even me looking back,
No,
I'm
that's so
so ashamed of
cool.
that because now
Don't. That's
I have students. I'm like, dude, you're just trying to so hard for attention, which is obviously the only
I
thing it
always
could have been.
felt like you were very genuine with who you were in your plaid suit kind of nonsense.
I
It,
didn't
it
give an
didn't
F.
feel, yeah, it didn't feel forced ever to me.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
I, I mean, you would do T-Rex impressions
Oh
at the
yeah,
table,
yeah.
and
In
and
fact, I even did. Earnhardt found out about it, and he had me do it for the entire band once. You remember that? And like
yes,
at Pennington.
I was so excited because I thought it was great.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty authentic. I mean, it was pretty lifelike if you could see it.
And that was probably a joke I actually still think about is when we would just make up Jurassic Park titles because it was kind of when they were
Yeah,
releasing the
yeah, yeah,
second and
yeah.
the third, and I think we got up to Jurassic Park 34. I left my wallet,
Yeah,
which
episode
still makes me
34.
laugh. I gotta go back,
We have
man.
to go back to get his wallet. And now they're doing more, which is, funny.
Yep, yep.
Every time a new one comes out, I do think about that, making fun of that in high school. Because there weren't, I mean, at that time, there weren't really that many sequels. Like, you didn't have the Marvel universe where it's like, okay, 24
hmm
movies later, right? It really was almost sad, because Jurassic Park 2 wasn't that great and 3 was even worse. And so anytime there's a sequel out of a certain franchise, like, oh, here we go again.
Yep.
But now they've kind of perfected it in some franchises, some not, but
Yeah. There's the whole debate. I'm very plugged into mostly animation, but I do enjoy kind of just the movie industry in general, and I do want to see more original stuff. And it's out there. I really fell in love with Coda, which just won Best Picture.
yeah, I
That was
need to
one of my
see it.
favorite movies.
It sounds great. Now, is that
Oh, it's
there was one that was up for, it was like a Western, like a kind of a funky Western, but Coda
mhm.
is the one where there's a deaf character, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
okay.
Coda stands for Children of Deaf Adults.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't personally really have any experience in that world. One of my closest friends has deaf parents, so that's really the only thing I have to do with that community. But it was really good and really eye-opening. So
I'll have to watch it.
yeah, it's funny. It's definitely well written. But
And so you're talking about the debate between original versus like established franchises and wanting to get more stuff in, like more original type stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would it would be, I think, really good if we backed off the sequels, but
Right.
it is what it is. I enjoy a junky Marvel movie from time to time.
And also, I feel like COVID has put kind of a selective pressure on some of it too. Like only the good stuff is now going to rise to the top. Like it's going to be
Hmm.
even harder for those original movies to get oxygen in the that ecosystem because so few people. It's like people aren't going to theaters unless it's for Spider-Man No Way Home. Um, but maybe that'll reopen up. I hope it does, and we get some more good stuff in. All right,
Yeah,
and
and things
good.
things like Netflix are really going to help with that.
Yeah, that's true.
That they they make their limited series and stuff, which has been nice to see.
There's
But
been
yeah,
some great stuff, man. I'm not to start giving promotions to TV shows, but Raised by Wolves on HBO is
mm,
like Ridley Scott produced it. It's kind of like the alien, you know, universe of creepy sci-fi weird stuff happening on this planet. It's really good if you're into that.
nice. I'll check it out. I do remember the one time I've seen the masterpiece swim fan was at your house. Do you remember
Yes,
that?
yes.
There's a big group of us, and why did we decide to watch
I
Swim
don't
Fan?
know. I don't know. That
But
was a bad movie.
that was the only time I've ever seen that movie, but I see it referenced online all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that. Thanks, Mark Dye.
Who is that
Thanks.
actress? I'm trying to think of her name. She hasn't been in a ton. She was like,
I wouldn't remember.
yeah, I can't remember her name. But I remember learning the hard way that if you want to really watch and pay attention to a movie, you shouldn't invite 15 people over to watch it because
No, that's a
it's
terrible
not
idea.
like we're all going to sit quietly and watch it.
Your house was so fun though. Your dad, does your dad still own that place?
He's still in that house, 72 and still kicking, man. He's
Awesome.
walking. My sister has been great. She lives in Arlington, but
Hmm.
we've done a couple like she did a couple walk mile challenges with him, so to get him walking
Good.
and to keep him healthy. So, and he's got now 7 grandkids that all live in the area, so he's happy to be watching
I,
them. So
yeah, I bet that's great for him. He was always a nice dude.
he's so great. I lucked out for sure with
Is
that
your
dad.
room, did you ever finish your walls?
Yeah, so the maze was complete. I even went around, for that was, in fact, I know the actual date I started it because it was my sister's first wedding. It was February 2nd, 2002, because she got married 2202. And
Hmm.
so it was that day I like after the wedding reception I remember starting to draw that maze, and it with sharpies. It was like above the molding or whatever. So the top half of my wall was all one maze, and then your name's probably still in there actually. I need to get a
Oh
picture of
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
awesome. I'd love
but
to
it
see
like
it.
wraps around to the wall around it as well. And my actually quite a few. So my dad just kept like room and boarding people after I left. So my friend Michael lived there for a while. My friend Gus, and who's actually his wife now. She went to Bell. She was a color guard in the band, but that was like 5 or 7 years after us.
Yeah.
But so he lived there, and nobody. I'm like, y'all can paint over the maze. Like, no, we can never paint over
It's
there. Like
part
my
of
dad is
it's
like,
part
no,
of the
we're not gonna
house.
paint over that. It's a masterpiece. It's all
Yes.
faded, and it's like you can tell I use different markers because some of the markers are more faded. Like this looks terrible. Maybe I should refurbish it or something. But
Oh, that's so cool though. My parents were, encouraging in like the here's private lessons way, but they would have kicked my butt if I had put any marker on
drawn
my
on the wall.
wall.
Well,
Uh,
and then one year during Christmas, this is like middle school or maybe even elementary, I would staple gun Christmas lights, like strands of Christmas lights, maybe a foot apart or even 6 inches. And so my entire walls in my room were lined with Christmas lights at one
that
point. I don't know why
sounds
my dad let me do that.
soothing and
I think
comforting.
that must have been after they got divorced because he was probably just like whatever's gonna make you happy and like
Oh,
trying to like protect me. I was like I'm just gonna staple gun these lights to the wall. You could see
that's
it glowing from the window.
probably. Well,
Cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Caterwall. Are we going to get a volume two coming out or a book two?
eventually, the publisher that originally published it kind of went under. They were already struggling a little just because small publishing, especially in a now digital age, is a little
Mm,
harder. So they don't really exist anymore. So I need to resell the first one to another publisher and negotiate terms, etc. So I have to do all that, but I have a good chunk of it done. I just have to finish it. It's definitely on the back burner compared to, money making stuff
Yep.
because comics do not pay.
No, yeah.
Both me and my partner do it. We love it.
Oh,
It's a
that's awesome.
passion, but yes.
What kind of
So,
stuff does she do?
very similar things. Graphic novels. She just had a really successful Kickstarter last year to print her graphic novel. So,
And I don't think I may have even contributed to that. I don't know. You shared it, right? I'm sure you shared it at some point, didn't
yeah,
you?
I shared it on Facebook. If
Oh, I'll have to
if
go
you got a
check it out.
physical copy, it would have already been there.
Yeah.
I would know. I packed and shipped all of them.
To all the addresses.
Yep.
So tell me about the process because I'm doing like a small startup business myself and really just doing it all myself. But this looks really well done. Like, did you design all the cover work and did you do all of the digital side as well, or was there somebody helping you with that?
I had a couple people helping me. Um, Emily did a lot of my typography, which is not something I'm particularly great at. Uh, so I kind of did all the art, and then her and the publisher helped with layout, and I kind of just gave them the art, and then a book came, and it was great.
Nice. Did you
I
write the
don't know
story
how.
as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
That's kind of what I started with. You write the script, and then with the script you can kind of block out pages because you don't want. There's like some rules with comics and graphic novels about how many panels, how many speech bubbles. It's kind of it's a design element on top of just the art. So
Yeah, for sure. So
yeah,
I'll throw up a link on the show notes and they can order it if they so choose.
yeah. I have a couple other comics. Kind of just all work in progresses. That's always how I've been. I'm a very disorganized artist.
That's
I have little bits of projects here and there that I like to work on.
only the true artists are.
Yeah. It's funny because, you and I met through band. I was so in love with marching band. I had a brother that graduated a few years before us that was in band. He was a saxophone player, and music came to him so naturally, and
Hmm.
it never came to me naturally. It was always a struggle because that side of the brain, I don't know how scientific that is now, but I always kind of realized that math and music and languages just were not
Hmm.
something I was good at. And I struggled so much throughout junior high to get good at music, and then I struggled all throughout high school with it too, and it was just I wanted so badly to be so good, and it just never really happened. I was good enough to pass, and that was about it. Um, and it was just a little frustrating. I do remember that was rough.
Yeah, and I think Steven Spielberg has a quote about, it's not always obvious what your calling is going to be. Like
Mhm.
sometimes the thing you really want to do well at is just not what you're suited. It's not what you're built for.
Yep.
And so that's sad
Yeah.
when they don't match up sometimes because yeah, I'm sure that there's tons of people out like trying to make trying to do the gig band gig stuff and playing guitar and it's like um, yeah, you feel for him and do what you love because I think Spielberg was referring to the follow your bliss quote, which I think was Joseph Campbell. Um, but it's like not always obvious what sometimes I think Spielberg says sometimes it's like a whisper and you have to listen to it
Hmm.
and just kind of keep an ear out because um, yeah, but that is frustrating when like dang, I just want to really want to be good at this. And
Yeah.
that's kind of
And
where I'm at with teaching. I mean, I have loved being a teacher, and my students really enjoyed it. But I just don't. I quit my full time job last year, just because it got to be too much stress. I mean, I guess both my wife and I working full time, that was part of it, and having two young kids. But part of it was just like I think I want to do something else maybe. And so I'm just teaching like 6 hours a week now, and still enjoying it. But the artwork, it's like I had never had any intentions of pursuing this until COVID hit and I started doing some time lapse and then we collaborated.
yeah,
That was
yeah, we
fun. In
did.
fact, I really want to do the LD Bell craft fair. They do every winter, but it lines up with the other Christmas market I do. But
Oh,
because I could sell more of our little
gotta get an
collaboration.
agent. Just send someone with your stuff to
Yeah, it's
one.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
start. What do they call the businesses? Franchising it
Yeah.
to people. That's actually not a bad idea. But anyway, so like I really this, I talked to Steve about this on the episode. It's like concrete. I like that I know that I've done something good, and here it is as a little
Hmm.
packaged thing. Like, here's Caterwall. Here's a thing I produced.
Yeah, it is really nice having that physical item that you made. That's one thing I do love about being an artist. Just that it's in my head and now it's here and you can buy it and it's fun. I used to sell at conventions a lot and I really liked it. I'm sure it's kind of the same feel as your
Yeah.
markets where it's just you get to know, how to talk to people and how to sell yourself without
Mm-hmm.
kind of seeming like a sitting ad behind your table.
Yeah.
But your stuff's been looking great. I've always loved it. I had one of my prized possessions was a Willy Wonka that you did
Oh
with the
yeah. In
lines.
fact, I think I gave the original to my brother-in-law, but I can make prints of it and send you. I'll send you one.
Yeah, that'd be great. I did a couple years ago. I had a bunch of my stuff in storage because we live in a tiny little city apartment, so there's no room here. This is like one room, two rooms, bedroom. That's
Nice.
what we got going. Um, but all my high school stuff got stolen. All my yearbooks,
Stolen? Oh
yeah, all
man,
my photos. The Willy Wonka print got
that is
stolen.
terrible.
Yeah, it sucked. It definitely. I have not experienced a lot of bad in my life. I've been pretty hashtag blessed,
Yep.
as the kids say, 10 years ago, and
Yep.
that was pretty hard. I lost a lot in one go, and it was a lot of sentimental stuff. I don't miss my snow tires. I don't miss my bike. Whatever. I miss the pictures. I miss
Yeah, and
the
like if you're gonna steal a bunch of stuff, you might like why don't you ship it from a like ship the stuff that's not worth anything except to you, Spain, to like
yeah.
ship it back to them or something at least. You jerk them of.
Yeah, they made a pretty penny on me. I'm sure I had a bunch of
Yeah.
Disney collectibles from my years in Orlando, but it's all the pictures I miss the most. I had this great picture of a snow day where you and Brandy Casper came over to my house and we walked
Yes.
around my
Yes.
neighborhood and I had this great picture of you and Brandy holding this giant icicle. It
That's
was
right. I remember that.
huge. It was a great picture, but it's lost to time now. But I
I'm,
still have it up here.
I might have a copy of that actually. I might have to look through my. I've got a little memory box with a bunch of pictures from
Yeah,
way
hopefully
back
I
then.
gave you a copy. But yeah, that was a fun day.
I
God,
don't know how
Brandy,
I don't
where
know
are
how we
you?
made it to your house on a snow day.
I don't, I remember it being a little sketchy. Because, well, Brandy lived really close to me,
Yes,
but you
I
lived pretty
didn't.
far.
Yeah. So that would have been I probably just took the Dodge Shadow and drove it in the ice up there. Just made my way slowly. That was
Did
fun.
I hear correctly with your interview with Steve Pratt? Does he still have that car
He
that he
says he
had?
still has the Chevelle. In fact,
I
I
don't
need
believe him.
to.
I think he's lying.
That's what I told him. So I need
I
to
don't
get
hear
him. To,
awoogas at all anymore.
I even forgot about that horn. Yeah, you're right.
Yep. Hmm.
Oh, and was
That's
it
how
like
you
a
knew Steve Pratt was in the neighborhood.
was it
You
like
just
a
hear it.
yeah, that's true. Was it a baby blue or like a aqua?
Oh, I don't remember the
It was a
color. I just remember that horn.
lighter, cooler color.
Yeah.
Um,
I think baby blue sounds right.
yeah. I need to get him to
That was
send me a
fun.
picture of that.
Pics or it did not happen,
Yep.
sir.
And I'll post it. So, do you have a website where people can like reach out and request commissions, or do you just do kind of word of mouth stuff from?
Uh, I mostly just do Twitter and uh, not so much Instagram. I never really got into Instagram. I have a pretty decent client base. I mean, I have a few connections at a few game studios that I do design work for. Like right
Oh,
now,
nice.
I'm doing designs for an app game, um, which is all NDA, but whatever. They You can know I'm working on an app game.
Right. Right.
Uh, but mostly I have repeat customers. I have a lot of people that just, hey, here's my D&D character for this campaign. Please draw it. And it's been working out great. I really love it. It's super fun to just sit and draw, and that's my life. But with that comes very like a sedimentary life. I'm sure you know that as a teacher. It's just so
Yeah.
sedimentary. So I
Yep.
try to get up. I snowboard, I surf, I scuba. I do things outside as much as I can.
Where do you surf?
My parents still live in Florida.
Like travel down to see them? Yeah.
Yeah, and man, my dad turns 74, 75 this year. That man can kick my butt at surfing to this day. I will be. We'll both get out on a board, and you have to paddle out past,
uh,
the rough, and I'll be paddling, and he's already out there, and I'm just like, okay, I'll be right there, and my 74-year-old dad is waiting for me. It's
nice. Is that salt
insane.
air? Yeah,
Yep, I guess so. He loves it down there. So,
that's cool. I never got into the snow sports. I went skiing once in Santa Fe, and one day of that was enough for me. I don't think I ever did snowboarding, which seems like it might be more fun. But I feel like you can get hurt easier on snowboard because you fall forward, right? Like, rather than to the
um,
side. Maybe not.
you fall back.
You can fall on
You're
your
kind of
butt, yeah.
already. Yeah, yeah. I just a couple days ago I made a wrong turn at Keystone, and I found myself on a double black mogul run. So my butt's a little sore because I would just have to keep falling back.
The whole way down.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
moguls are not for snowboards. It doesn't matter how good you are at snowboarding. That is not fun.
Yeah.
But I picked snowboarding because I surfed, and it was a easy transition between the two. Um, and it's one of my favorite things now. I love snowboarding.
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
I,
we're
I,
going up
like,
to.
I love the snow. I think my problem was it was like a bunch of people who already knew what they were doing. And we took the kind of like basic intro class and here's pizza and french fries or whatever. And then after 20 minutes, like, all right, go ahead and just go with everybody. And so I was
Push.
constantly in people's way. I mean, I was doing okay with it, but it just wasn't fun. And I knew I could go twice as fast if I had more confidence, but I was just kept falling and getting in people's way. It's like, all right, fine, I'm gonna go get some hot chocolate.
Yeah, that was my first snowboarding. I had done classes for 2 days, and then I went up with Emily and her dad, and he's like, "Oh, it'll be fine. This is an easy run," but it was not easy for me. I was 2 days in. I could not handle it. It's way easier now, but I don't do the jumps or anything. We're getting a little too old for that nonsense.
Yeah, I'm jogging. I'm doing like 9 miles a week jogging,
Nice.
which is a lot for me. I mean, I've done a couple of half marathons, but that was 5 years ago.
Hmm.
So my knees were a little better back then. I'm like, I need to find a lower impact sport than jogging, concrete, foot onto concrete constantly.
Yeah.
Maybe biking, but biking you can't do in the winter. It's way
Well, they
too
have
cold.
the fat tires that they have around here for the snow. It's pretty impressive. And then we also spent a lot of time up in Anchorage. So
Oh,
there's a lot
Alaska,
of biking. Yeah, there's a
nice.
lot of biking in the winter up there, but they have those big tires. They look fun. I haven't been on one.
I just found out that Texas is bigger than California, and my whole life I thought we were second to California. Alaska obviously is the biggest state, square mileage,
Hmm.
but we beat California by like 100,000 miles, square miles.
Yeah, we got all those, or well, Texas has all those wibbly bits.
Yeah, I always remember being corrected that Texas actually isn't bigger or something, and I just yesterday looked that up. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm
Huh.
not a true Texan anymore.
You think they would have covered that in the 20 times we had Texas history throughout grade school? Anytime I don't know something about world history, Emily makes fun of me. She's like, "Well, I was learning about that when you were learning about the Alamo," and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're right. I was learning about
You're
the Alamo entirely too much."
you're not wrong. That and the flood of whatever Galveston, the Galveston flood.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, but speaking of Galveston, because that was where we went for our spring trip. Because we
Mm-hmm.
had for band, we had the two Indianapolis. When we went to Indy, we
Yep.
didn't have a spring trip, but that
Mm-hmm.
one year where we did, and I remember, I don't, your sister, she wasn't in band, was she?
No, no.
Okay, so my brother, when he was in band in the late 90s, they went to Breckenridge every
Mm-hmm.
spring. There was a music contest. They went to Breckenridge. My brother got to ski. It was something I was looking forward to so much when I went to Bell. And then we did not get that. We got Galveston,
Galveston.
which, come on, Breckenridge versus Galveston. I was so crushed.
The clear as
And
mud waters of Galveston. Come see the sandy, silty beach.
from your Joe's Crab Shack
Yeah. Yep.
seats. And like, so, yeah, I always was kind of bitter against Breckenridge. But hey, that's where I'm going up tomorrow. So I got
Nice.
over it.
How close is that to Denver? I don't know the.
It's about an hour and a half drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it depends on, weather and traffic, but 70 is not fun. It's never fun.
So we're doing the Disney trip this summer. Are you still a Disney fan? Even though
Um,
they gutted the program as soon as you got there and you.
I have a,
And because you said you
weird
had all those
relationship.
collectibles as well.
Yeah, I definitely, when I was in Orlando, I would go to the parks. We had season passes because back then they were like $400, which was still a lot for, college, slightly post-college
Mm-hmm.
Spain, but
Yeah.
it was something I splurged on, and that was what we did a lot. And I actually got kind of burnt out on them, so I've not been to a Disney park in a long time. But where are you going? Disney World, Disneyland?
Yeah, World. We're
Okay.
doing like 6 days
Oh,
and
wow.
taking one day off just to relax.
Yeah, good idea.
But you mentioned the season pass. One of my friends was saying here, this guy who got the pass that allowed the food plan.
Hmm.
And he was like, if you do 2 meals a day at a Disney park, because he worked within like 10 minutes of walking distance from one of the parks. Uh, it pays for itself in like 3 months, and then you have the
Oh, I
rest of the
bet.
year, and you just keep getting free meals from Disney, and they're pretty good food. You just got to figure out where to go where there's not long lines, and so that's pretty funny. It'd be fun
That's
to do.
awesome. Are you staying on
Yeah,
the
we're staying
resort?
on one of the resorts there. We went
Cool.
before our kids were born. We went, and my brother-in-law was like, we got to stay in. It was just the four, my sister, my wife, and him, and me, just the four of us. And she got pregnant. She got pregnant after we planned the trip, but before we went, so she couldn't do
Hmm.
any of the rides. She would like only do the little kiddie rides. But he was like, we
Oh,
got to
no
stay.
rides, no drinks.
Yeah, it was like we got to stay on the resort because I hear it's great, great, great. And we did. We chose not to. We're like, well, this is a really good deal, and it says they have a free happy hour every whatever it is. And of course, it was just a
Hmm.
crappy, whatever hotel down the long line of just crappy with putt putt, courses down whatever road that is. Um,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I drive.
what is it?
Oh, yeah. I drive International Drive.
Okay, yeah,
It's where all the putt-putt stuff
yep,
is.
yep.
I
Just
spent a lot.
miles of it.
Yep, miles of it. And we would go down there in college and just get drinks at bars and kind of just bar hop down there.
It's a good place to do it.
Yeah, it
Don't have to
wasn't
walk
bad.
far.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Well, this was good. I think the thing's going to kick us off in a minute, but
Okay.
we still have a couple things. I got a challenge for you.
Okay.
But before we do that, I have two things. So here's what you wrote to me in my 2002 yearbook.
Uh-oh.
I will marry you. I
Oh,
don't know.
you know why I wrote that, right?
I
You
forget.
know,
I forgot the
do
joke.
you in my 2002 yearbook, there was a "Will you marry me? Yes or no" box marked
Oh, check
I.
yes or no. Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
So I guess I replied.
So
So
you said,
there you
I
go.
will marry you. And then you said, I'm using pencil. Dot, dot, dot. Very good. That must
That
have also
must.
been an inside joke that
Yeah.
neither of us recall. So good times this year. See you this summer. Spain Fischer with Tuba Guy Drawing. You signed it and did a
Oh,
little Tuba Guy Drawing.
very good.
And the following year gets a little better. Mark, hey,
Oh.
buddy. So for context, my girlfriend at the time had written an entire page to me with like a picture of, like she pasted it in there and there was a whole thing. So you responded to that. You said, hey, buddy, this year was great. You were always there to make me laugh. You're the funniest person ever. I love you. As a friend, Sarah, in parentheses. Haha, okay. wait for it. Haha, oh, you left your pants at my house. Wink, good times. Spain Fisher. And then you left your phone number and and then drew my head.
Hey, that's
So I
still my
think
same phone number. Feel free to call me
is it the same?
if it's 0024. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
I think it was. I think it was. All
Oh,
right,
that's
and before your
funny.
challenge, I had the prepared statement, but I'm
Hmm.
going to add a couple attributions to make it a little bit. That's my alarm. I'm going to add a couple attributions to make it a little more meaningful, so it's not the same statement to all of you. So I'm personalizing it a bit.
Okay.
Spain, because of your love of joy and your unstoppable spirit, I am sincerely grateful and better for having known you. You are just one of the hundreds of kind, generous, and benevolent people I know in a world where we need every single one we can get. Please keep being awesome and drawing awesome things. All right?
All right. I accept your challenge.
And I mean it. Okay,
That's
but the
good because I
challenge
have a
is
lot.
this. I think Steve thought the challenge was that too. This is the challenge. This is your quiz. Okay, now your name is Spain,
Yes.
which is, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of questions about that over the years. So you should know a lot about the country Spain. So here are 5 questions
Oh God.
about the country of Spain,
I'm
España.
too I'm too egotistical. I'm the only Spain to me.
I'm the
All
only
right, try
Spain
me.
that
I'll
matters.
try.
Okay, you have 7 seconds to answer. I'm going to turn my alarm off. That just went off to pick up my daughter. My wife can do it. All right. Number 1. True or false? Spain has a royal family.
False.
And it is
Damn.
true. King
Still?
Felipe right now, this was it the 4th or 6th, I forget.
Oh, wow.
They do have a royal family. Number 2, what novel claimed to be the first modern novel was written by Spanish author Miguel de Cervantes?
Uh, Don Quixote.
Nice. Ding, ding, ding. It's a great book, too. I just read it a couple years
I
ago.
love books. I'm a little bit of a book nerd, so.
Oh, we should talk about that then. All right.
Yeah.
Number 3, in 2006, which other country formed an earth sandwich with Spain by putting a baguette on the ground directly on the other side of the globe?
Oh, where would that be? That would be.
Where would it be? I was trying to do an accent, and then that wouldn't help you because it was such a terrible accent.
That'd be like Cambodia?
Cambodia. I think you're close. Oh, I don't know if you're close.
Thailand? Cambodia, Thailand,
All right, time's
China?
up. New Zealand.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? They're opposite?
Yep, I
Wow.
think so. Yeah, because I looked. They had the GPS coordinates and everything, so I'm pretty sure they were exact about it. All right, number 4, true or false? Spaniards have the tooth fairy.
False.
Correct. It is a mouse called Ratoncito Perez.
Okay, I actually did know that.
It's a tooth collecting rat, which is awesome, or mouse. Okay, multiple choice. So
Okay.
you're 2 for 2, right? Yeah. Now a modern office supply, the first known blank was made in Spain. Is it A, stapler, B, binder clip, or C, hole punch?
Hole punch.
Oh, incorrect. Stapler. Dang,
I picked my
stapler.
favorite thing.
You like hole punches?
Yeah. Who doesn't like
They're
that? That's
fun.
so
Like,
satisfying.
punch it. And we had a single one. I can't find it.
Oh, like the big chunky one?
Yep.
The like the badge slot one?
That's
Those
right.
are my favorite.
Yeah, old school. Old school.
Wow. We're so cool.
We are.
I'm so
man.
glad that we're still cool into our late 30s.
When I worked at no, right? I worked at Office Depot for a while, and during the interview, he was like, "So, what's your experience with office supplies?" I was like, "I love office supplies," and I was being serious about it. I was like, "I love the drafting section where it has all the rulers and straight edges and pencils and pins." He made fun of me forever for it after that because I eventually worked there, but he was like,
That's
"You were just."
that's pretty nerdy.
I was
Yeah.
gushing about how much I loved the office supply section.
Office supplies are fun.
They are. They really are. All right. Well, this was
On
good.
that
How'd you feel?
exciting. Oh, great. I was a little nervous. I mean, I ultimately don't have a great opinion of who I was in high school. I feel like I was a socially awkward weirdo.
Well, we all loved you. You can.
Yeah, no, you guys were always really sweet to me, and I try to remember that.
Although that's possible that it's because we were all socially awkward, horrible band weirdos.
Those are always
so.
the best people. I'm talking to you right now because you were awesome in high school.
Well,
so
thank you. I remember being probably a little bit over the top. I remember
great.
maybe a little bit, but I appreciate that. That's
yeah,
good to
you
hear.
were and are a good guy. I'm excited that there are little guys in the world now.
That's right.
Because
They're pretty
'cause
cool
you-
little
you
people,
were
I
fun.
gotta say.
yeah, thanks for making little people.
The youngest one's a little bit of a sass mouth. I gotta train her out of that. She has this glower, like her eyes. She kind of has my eyes are a little bit deeper set, and so when she's upset, it's like her brow just like completely conveys this contempt for the world and whoever just made it worse for being in it. It's like, oh gosh, Margot, stop.
She's gonna be a force, man.
But yeah, she is a force to be reckoned with. All right, good times. Well, you got some more drawing to do today?
Yeah, I got
Got
some
some more
work to
commission
do.
work. I'm almost done
Yeah.
with one. It's my first non-friend commission that somebody
Oh.
reached out to me from a show I did, so that's fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm so glad. I've been trying to, share your stuff on
Thank you.
Facebook and help you get going because your art's so unique and it's just fun.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I wish you all the luck with it.
And same to you, my fellow commission artist.
Yeah,
good.
freelancers.
All right. Keep being awesome, Spain. Thanks for doing this.
You too.
All right.
Bye, Mark.
All right, that was the show. Thanks for listening, everyone. Today's episode was recorded by Mark Dye. Our editor is Mark Dye, and he is also the executive producer. The intro and outro music was composed by Mark Dye in high school. It's really just me doing this. To support the How the Heck Have You Been podcast, visit artbymarker.com and buy some cool art. Thanks, y'all.